Good morning, good morning, good morning. Welcome to the day 76. Can't see me, can you? Day 76 of the Free to Hope. Wait a minute, let me get my new sponsors a mask right before they complain. All right, let's start again. Welcome to day 76 of the Free to Hope 12 Steps Applied to COVID-19. My name is Edwina B, and this is the recovery conversation using the model of the 12 steps created by Alcoholics Anonymous over 80 plus years ago. I do not represent Alcoholics Anonymous, but I've been a proud, grateful, and humble member for 30 plus years. And if God wakes me up and breathes life to me on February the 21st of 2021, we will be celebrating 31 years, one day at a time, from alcoholism, drug addiction, and all the associated behaviors, attitudes, and ideas. So for that, I am grateful. Now, practicing these principles in all my affairs over these 30 plus years, I get to practice them on COVID-19. Why? Because back in November and December of 2020, me and 7 family members contracted COVID-19, but by the grace of God, we survived. These are the 2 cups from my grandsons, one who was 2, who had severe symptoms, my 7-year-old who had mild symptoms, and I who had symptoms. The other 6 family members were asymptomatic. So I thank God that He chose me and family members to survive COVID-19 for the purpose of sharing with you my experience, my strength, my hope, my wisdom of the 12-step programs, and now applying them to COVID-19 to give you my experience, my strength, my hope, my wisdom, my lack of wisdom, my bad choices, my bad decisions, because I know I contributed to contracting COVID-19 and infecting members of my family. So I am grateful that He breathed life into me this morning and saved my family, because we know others have not met the same outcome. So before we go any further, let's give homage to our Creator who woke us up this morning, who breathed life into you and to me this morning, because God uses wounded, shattered, and broken people to rescue wounded, shattered, and broken people like me and like you. So we want to give 30 seconds of silence and homage to our higher power, our Creator, God, as I understand Him, as well as those who have transitioned from COVID-19, those who are left behind as a result of losing loved ones to COVID-19, those who are suffering at this very moment with COVID-19 on their dying bed, those who have been redeemed, those who have survived, those who are in the intervention mode, and on behalf of other people with COVID-19, those who have been doing the right thing, congratulations, thank you. And then those who are still yet defiant, still think it's a hope, and still have that attitude of indifference. So for them, we want to include the entire human race as we simultaneously around the globe go through this pandemic. However, there is a solution, and they are in the 12 steps that are spiritual in nature. But let's first give 30 seconds of silence and homage to our higher power and the entire human race. Join me. Thank you, thank you, thank you. On behalf of my Creator, on behalf of the entire human race, let me say thank you to you for tuning in, for hopefully listening so that you can do the next right thing and applying these 12 spiritual principles to combating COVID-19 and decreasing the perpetuation of its effects, impact, outcome, and fatalities. So the question is to you, are you in the prevention, intervention, or restoration mode of COVID-19? Are you being proactive, reactive, inactive, or responsible when it comes to COVID-19? Only you can answer that question. So let me go to my sponsors. As you can see, I have a new sponsor, and it is called, yes, it is called Crafty Crab Seafood, right? And if you know anything about me, and if you want to win my heart, you can take me to a seafood restaurant. I love crabs. So it's a new restaurant right there in Wilmington, Delaware, right off of South Walnut Street. And I and members of my family went there for my granddaughter's 10th birthday party. They had the place separated for social distancing. They had the sanitizers. They even gave us our own mask in addition to what we already had, but they gave us their Crafty Crab mask, which I am wearing today. So my newest sponsor is Crafty Crab Seafood in Wilmington, Delaware. Excellent, excellent, excellent. Free to Hope, LLC, Women Do Haul Transportation Services, Mr. C's Barbershop, who articulates my crown very well in the form of his creative hands, Morgan's of Delaware, Lady T at Morgan's of Delaware for my attire and Afrocentric attire, Jewelry by Catherine Butler, and Divine Light, a recovery center for people dealing with substance abuse and mental illness, who also provide supportive housing. The resources that I will be giving credit to and have been using is Dr. Scott T. Allison article in Psychology Today, March the 2020 edition, as well as Jason Waller, breaking down the 12 steps, jasonwaller.com. The information is free to the public because in the 12-step program, it is free. Freely we receive, freely we give. However, I am soliciting sponsors to support the cause so that I can increase my platform and be able to share on as many media outlets as possible, as well as advertising your business to support COVID-19 and its reduction and stopping the perpetuation of its devastating impact, effects, outcome, and fatalities. So you can cash at me to $ free to hope. And if you need details, you want to give me a mask, you want to contribute, please contact me at edwina.bell@yahoo.com or 302-690-6679. Now, I also mentioned that Dr. Scott T. Allison was one who helped to initiate this presentation with you back in March of 2020. I saw an article that he had wrote in Psychology Today that says we as a society can benefit from the wisdom of 12-step programs as we combat COVID-19 then during the month of April of 2020. Now we in a new year, a new day, a new month, but this is a happy new day because why? I have been sitting before you since April the 1st, presenting the 12-step program to you as we combat COVID-19. However, when me and my family members contracted COVID-19 back in November and December, I came before you on December the 3rd, day one, and presented you the transparency in what COVID-19 looked like on me. And so if you are from Missouri and you need to see what I'm talking about, let me show you. Here I am, right there. You see, I am sweating. My pearly white dentures are not in. I look sickly. I felt achy. I couldn't hardly breathe. I could not taste. I could not smell. But by the grace of God, you see the transition and you see the continued transition now. And so, if you want to go back to my podcast as early as April the 1st of 2020, please do so. And if you want to see the transformation of me contracting and surviving COVID-19, go back to December the 3rd, because what you see now, I do not look like what I've been through. All right. And so on April the 1st is when I started with the article with Dr. Scott T. Allison. He used the Al-Anon approach, and he expressed 7 points of the same 12 steps applied to Al-Anon Anonymous. Letting go of control, patience, keeping the focus on oneself, trust, living in the present, social connections, and service to others. Also, I mentioned to you regarding Jason Waller, and out of all the templates that I received, I liked his. But before I do that, let me share with you what the 12 spiritual principles are. And even though we're changing the focus from alcohol, gambling, Al-Anon, Alateen, Overeaters Anonymous, we're now applying these steps to COVID-19 Anonymous. 1, we admitted we were powerless over COVID-19, that our lives had become unmanageable. 2, came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity, soundness of mind. 3, made a decision to turn our will and our lives over to the care of God as we understood him. 4, made a searching and fearless more inventory of ourselves regarding COVID-19. 5, admitted to God, to ourselves, and to another human being the exact nature of our wrongs. 6, were entirely ready to have God remove all these defects of character. 7, humbly asked him to remove our shortcomings. 8, made a list of all persons we had harmed and became willing to make amends to them all. 9, made direct amends to such people wherever possible, except when to do so will injure them or others, even you. 10, continued to take personal inventory, and when we were wrong, promptly admitted it. 11, sought through prayer and meditation to improve our conscious contact with God as we understood him, praying only for the knowledge of his will for us and the power to carry it out. And 12, having had a spiritual awakening as a result of these steps, we tried to carry this message to others regarding COVID-19 and to practice these principles in all our affairs. And as a result of being in this process of recovery for nearly 31 years, I know what it means to practice these principles in all my affairs. And when I first heard about this COVID-19 and what it was doing and where it came from, listen, I saw it, I heard it, but listen, I did not take it seriously. I took it for granted. I thought it was out there. Those people, I have a feeling of being invincible. Knowing that I had this information about the 12 steps, I did not apply them. And therefore, by taking it for granted, I contracted and infected members of my family. So when I'm sharing my experience, my strength, my hope, my wisdom, my lack of wisdom, my bad choices and my bad decisions and my bad actions, my bad attitudes, ideas, and behaviors about this COVID-19, God said, no problem. You're going to be sharing that too with your own experience. And that's somehow what it takes for us to listen to others when we are being defiant, rebellious, right? Stubborn, self-centered, selfish. And these 12 spiritual principles, right, can help address our old and existing attitudes, ideas, and behaviors in all our affairs, but particularly with this COVID-19 and the many variants that are upon us, right? So taking the 12 steps and applying them to the CDC suggestions, guidelines, recommendations, wash your hands, wear your mask, social distance, right? Contact tracing, getting tested, and getting vaccinated. Yes, let me show you if you're still from Missouri. I got the vaccine shot as well. Wait on
All right, here we go, my daughter. Got it? All righty, put your Band-Aid on. We'll watch it.
See, listen, all I had was a sore arm from that needle. But guess what? During my addiction as a prostitute, when I caught those STDs and I had to get needles in my arms and my behind, guess what? If this needle called the vaccine is going to reduce the severity of the symptoms, reduce the possibility of me being hospitalized, and reduce the possibility of me dying, oh, yes, 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 I'm taking the vaccine. Once I did my own research, once I dispelled the rumors, once I dispelled the myths, once I asked a lot of questions, I said, you know what? I would rather be around to get gifts like this from my grandchildren. So if I can prevent the severity of COVID-19 symptoms and not infect my grandchildren so they don't have to do the same thing, then I'm taking that vaccine, and I suggest you do too. So let's get into our presentation, our recovery conversation on applying the 12 steps from from Jason Waller. When I did my information breakdown, I found something that I liked, but let me present this to you first, all right? So we are on recovery principle number 6, right? So let me give you an overview of what 1 through 5 focuses on, right? And it's important. Review repetition is essential in recovery because we never know when the student might be ready so the teacher can appear. We never know when students need to go to the next level. We never know who needs to be reminded because they heard but they didn't listen. And repetition is important, all right? So steps 1 through 5, and all these steps are spiritual in nature. So 1, admitted we were powerless over COVID-19 and that our lives had become unmanageable. This is the step we have to take 100% with total acceptance without any reservation. 2, came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity, and that only means soundness of mind. But the CDC suggestions, the tangible evidence, the experiences of others expressed in groups, your higher power, all are forms of a power or powers greater than you, like me, that restore me to sanity. 3, made a decision to turn our will and our lives over to the care of God as we understood him. If that power or powers greater than you are working for your good and in your best interest, why wouldn't you keep making a decision to turn your will and your life over? And as a result of me surviving COVID-19 and my family members, you better believe I'm making that decision on a regular basis. Number 4, made a searching and fearless moral inventory of ourselves. When did those character defects arrive? When was those attitudes, ideas, behaviors, decisions, choices, actions conducted and formulated? Go back as far as you can to find out why you're being stubborn, why you're being defiant, why you're being so self-centered and selfish, right? And so this inventory will help identify your resistance to conform or to take the suggestions that will save your life and save the lives of others. That inventory is crucial. So once we do the inventory, we come to recovery principle number 5. Admitted to God, to ourselves, and to another human being the exact nature of our wrongs. I had to select a person, and in some cases you, who will not sugarcoat my stuff, right? But help me get to the core of those character defects. Similar to an onion, similar to an iceberg, layers and layers in that onion, and that iceberg that's on the surface of the water is just the beginning, because when we submerge and go with and deep, we will find the core of those character defects. We also recommend that you be as honest as you possibly can, emptying that trash can, emptying that garbage can, right? And then even though you, like many of us, may be fearful of looking at ourselves, but in a 12-step program, we say, no. Don't take the negative approach of being fearful. Take the approach and face everything and recover, not forget everything in one. And so how we were able to do that, we were given the opportunity to go to Jason Waller, and he had some information that will help us break down the recovery process and what it means. And so let me give you my example of the character defects that I had and have, and how I got to the exact nature. I had a resentment against COVID-19, and I had a resentment against myself regarding COVID-19. The resentment of COVID-19 was masked by anger, uncertainty, confusion, frustration, disbelief, and ultimately fear. The resentment I had against myself towards COVID-19 was masked by stupidity, defiance, rebellion, selfishness, self-centeredness, regrets, remorse, and ultimately fear. So I know that I had to apply what I did to my alcoholism and drug addiction to not forget everything and run and do what I have been doing. No, I need to face everything and recover. So when I was able to get to the exact nature of my wrongs, and then here we are. Number 6 says, now that we found out why we are like we are, where those attitudes, ideas, behaviors, decisions, actions, choices were formulated by whom and what situation, what circumstances. And now that we found out the exact nature of those character defects, and just the word defects, just the word defect should be enough for you to want to be entirely ready to have them removed. And as Charles DeBois so eloquently says, the important thing is this. Listen, y'all, to be able at any moment to sacrifice what we are for what we could become. If I was to come outside now and didn't have my mask on, what? If you see me, you say, where's your mask? If I see you, I say, where's your mask? I will not go back to the way I was with those old attitudes, ideas, and behaviors. No, I want to see what I can become. So I'm going to go back and get that mask so I can live and not infect my family members or you. So the question is, are you entirely ready? And so when we talk about some of the character defects and getting to the exact nature of them, some are very known to us, right? We have the 7 deadly sins of pride, greed, lust, envy, gluttony, wrath, and sloth. Others include anger, resentment, dishonesty, defiance, rebellion. And why don't you name some of your character defects you would like to be removed that hinders you from taking the simple suggestions of washing your hands, wearing a mask, contact tracing, social distancing, getting tested, and age appropriate, getting vaccinated. So if any of these character defects are hindering you, then apply step 6 so that they can be entirely removed so that you can face the fear, that's the exact nature, and be a part of the solution and not a part of the problem. So we know that when we talk about these 7 deadly sins and other character defects, some of which you could possibly name, then we know that you too can be free like me from recovery, emerge empowered to do what? To give hope to others, help others prosper equally. We know that in the 12-step program of Alcoholics Anonymous, there's a couple of sayings that I need to restate to you so that you can listen. And if it's new to you, that you'll hear it from the horse's mouth. They say in our 12-step program of Alcoholics Anonymous, some of us must die in order for some of us to live. And you may say, ooh, that's hard. Look, it's the truth. And so when we tell ourselves the truth, and the sooner we tell ourselves the truth, the sooner we can get better. So I ain't trying to lie to you, and I definitely ain't trying to lie to me. I am washing my hands, practicing social distancing, wearing my mask, right? Getting tested, contact tracing, and as you saw, I got vaccinated, waiting on the second boost, right? And so we say that some of us must die. And some of us are dying, have died, will continue to die with this COVID-19. Why? Because you may be like I was, defiant, rebellious, taking it for granted, don't believe it's real, it's a hoax. Well, talk to those people who have lost loved ones. Talk to those people who are unable to talk and ask their loved ones. Talk to those people who suffered through them. And I'm going to be bringing some guests on who survived COVID-19 like me to encourage you to do the same thing. Maybe you don't want to listen to those people, but you may want to listen to me, because I ain't going to lie to you. If I've been in recovery from alcoholism, drug addiction, prostitution, and all that, you know I ain't trying to hide nothing. And I'm definitely ain't trying to give anything or anybody that much power to make me go back to drinking. But I'm not going to give anything or anybody that much power to not allow me to practice these CDC suggestions to save my life, to save my loved ones, to save my culture, to help save my community, my city, my state, my country. And if we all do this simultaneously in a holistic approach, we can, we will, we must stop the perpetuation of this COVID-19. And the numbers that you see are reported. There are twice the amount that are not being reported. So that information alone should be a power greater than you to restore you to sanity like it did me. All right? And so with Jason Waller, he helps us to understand why we should embark on these 12 spiritual principles, right? And if you're like me, I can hear what you're saying. I read what you've written, but somehow I don't know. I got a mental block. And if you like me with drinking and drugging for so many years, I might have burned out some of my brain cells. And so with Jason Waller, what he did, and so it's jasonwaller.com, he was able to break down all these 12 steps using a simplistic outline, a simplistic breakdown, a simplistic synopsis, summary, right? Template, and poses questions to help me, to help you, to help him get in touch with what is that step really about? What is that recovery? What are those recovery principles really about? And sometimes when we ask questions, when we get a little bit of information and you make it real to us, and you use tangible experiences like I did yesterday, that at the bottom of this cup is our God-given natural instincts, right? But born into this world, born into our culture, born into this society, born into this race, born into this gender, right? So those natural instincts that everybody has and are given begin to far exceed their intended purpose. So all I'm asking, that my natural instincts are here, but this cup is big, 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 and these are character defects. So why wouldn't I want the character defects of procrastination, of lust, of greed, of stupidity, of defiance, of stubbornness, self-centeredness? Why wouldn't I want these character defects to be removed? Right? They were the formulation of old and existing ideas, attitudes, and behaviors that are no longer working for me, did not work for me because I contributed to contracting COVID-19. So I needed to become entirely ready to have God remove any of those defects that's going to prevent me from using common sense, being restored to sanity just by washing my hands, wearing a mask, and get to the exact nature. Get back to my natural God-given instincts. Use common sense. Huh? Think about it. What's so bad about wearing a mask? We have been wearing them all our life, right? When I came on December the 3rd, honey, listen, I took these pearly white dentures out. I didn't care how my hair looked. I didn't care how I looked, because for 30 years I've been practicing taking off those masks. And now you're telling me that there is one mask. There is one mask. There is one mask that can save my life and save the life of my loved ones. This is the mask I need to be wearing all the time. I need to wash my hands as often as I can. I need to take the simple suggestions. I don't want to be in this process, like we say in recovery, to save my face. I'm trying to save my ass. I'm sorry. I ain't apologizing, because that's how serious and adamant each one of our lives are. I ain't got time to play with y'all. I ain't got time for you to play with me. No. So when Jason Waller asks these questions and he sets the foundation, right, we are trying to get in so that you can get help, right? Revealing what you have been concealing and taking off those other masks and put the one mask on. And so let me continue to give you the foundation that Jason Waller uses as we approach the questions that he poses regarding recovery principle number 6. Is, we believe that recovery is about being prepared for things yet to come. Well, Jason Waller's outline prepares us for a better understanding, intent, benefit, right, of experiencing that spiritual transformation from all the steps, but particularly recovery principle number 6. Wanting to have God of your understanding remove all those defects of character that prevents you from taking these simple suggestions to save your life and the lives of your loved ones, the life of your culture. This is a life-death situation that all the world is experiencing right now. We are all in a knee-bowing experience. All of us simultaneously. We're all on the same plane. There's no big I's or little U's. This is serious. And pray that you are listening. Not just hearing, that you are listening. And if I can if I can touch one life, then my job is done. But you touch another life, then your job is done, and it has a ripple effect. So when I do what I'm supposed to do, I have my little ones now watching me, and they are modeling my behavior, not by what I say, but they go out in the mask, they wash their hands because they see grandma doing it. Yes. So if we do this simultaneously around the world, starting with me, starting with you, and passing it on, we must stop the perpetuation of COVID-19. All right, so let's take a drink, because I can breathe. I can smell. I can taste my coffee. Better believe it ain't no drink, right? Even with that, people are resorting to drinking and drugging and suicide and all that. The 12 steps are the solution. I'm telling you. I can smell, touch, feel, hear, but I want to listen. And sometimes I want you to listen, but I need to listen to myself. That's how I got in touch with my alcoholism and drug addiction. When my therapeutic community said, Edwina, you miss know-it-all, you know everything. They call you the junior therapist in here. Well, tell us about you every time you pick up a drink or a drug. And I told them what my pattern was. But at the end, they say, based on what you said, do you think you are powerless over alcohol? I heard myself tell myself the truth. And the same thing applies to COVID-19. Edwina, what was your pattern every time you did not wear a mask? What was your pattern every time you didn't wash your hands? What was your pattern of having fear of getting tested? What was your pattern of social distancing? What was your pattern about not taking the vaccination? Huh? And once I told myself what my pattern was, I listened to what I was saying to me. And I said, you damn right. I need to listen to myself, my behavior, my patterns, my decisions, right? And base it on the spiritual information that I have that's available for me to deal with any physical condition, even COVID-19. So that's what I'm saying. If you listen, what is your pattern? What is your behavior? What is your attitude? What is your resistance? What are your choices? What are your actions about not complying, not taking these simple suggestions? What is the issue? What are the issues? I'm not going to say that something is wrong with you, because it's not. But I want to understand what happened to you. Like they wanted to understand what happened to me. To have that attitude of being invincible and being defiant and being rebellious. Where did all that come from? But listen, we have a solution. We can help you go inside and reveal those things that you've been concealing for so long. So if those things are going to prevent you from taking some simple suggestions, we might as well get to stepping. I'm telling you. So that you can be set free from recovery, emerge empowered to give hope to others. Help others prosper equally. That's the only way we're going to stop the perpetuation of this COVID-19. We are in this together. You and I got to do this. Our Creator knows the beginning, the middle, and the end. But if we practice aligning our will with His will and taking the suggestions that are offered, but the reality is, and like one gentleman said, he said people need to think about COVID-19 like a shotgun. I'm standing in front of you with a shotgun ready to kill you and your family members. What you going to do? You're going to do everything you can to protect yourself and protect your loved ones, right? Aren't you? Well, then substitute that shotgun with COVID-19. What are you going to do to protect yourself now and your family members? Wear the mask, wash your hands, social distancing. Don't tell me that now you ain't got time. What? We make time for everything else? No. Get tested, get vaccinated. Come on now. So here are some of the foundation or preparatory steps to help us understand on a deeper spiritual level what particularly recovery principle number 6, when we say become entirely ready to have God remove any and all things that hinders us from taking these simple suggestions of the CDC as a result of working these 12 spiritual principles. All right. So yesterday we were talking about shortcomings. How that now that I know that I was defiant, now that I know that I was rebellious, so I have identified the character defect and I have identified the exact nature of fear. So because I am work in progress and because this thing is called a journey, there are times with each new day, not knowing what life is going to deal me in that deck of cards. There are times when those character defects rear its head. And most of the time, I react from a humanness perspective. And then the spirituality or the spiritual principles kick in. And one of the ways I know they kick in because it doesn't feel right. Right? It doesn't feel right. I'm seeing myself outside of the picture acting crazy, acting stupid, being defiant, being rebellious. But guess what? There's a step for that. And it says, humbly ask him to remove our shortcomings. And so when we know of our character defects and we think we are cured or we don't have it no more, and we recognize that we fall short, they become shortcomings. Okay, so we talked about that yesterday, and the question becomes, are you ready to let them go? All right. So we talked about, to be clear, defects of character does not mean you are defective or that you are a bad character. In fact, instead of seeing your faults and failings as defects, now that you have awareness of them, you should reframe it as shortcomings that can be addressed and worked on, okay? When we get into those issues deep down that cause the behaviors, attitudes, and ideas regarding COVID-19 that are real, long-lasting, that they can be changed. We can address them. Why do I refuse to wear a mask? What's the problem with me? Why can't I wash my hands, right? But when it says when we get to those issues deep down that cause that attitude, idea, and behavior, then real long-lasting change occurs. We can make a real effort to heal the underlying core mental and emotional issues that have caused limiting and or destructive behavior. What was I proving to myself about being defiant, about wearing a mask? What was I proving to myself by saying I'm not going to let nobody tell me who I can be around, who I can, what I can drink, what I can't drink, where I can go, when, who, what? No, But where does that come from? Where did that originate from, that mindset? And so when we embark upon the 12 spiritual principles, we are challenged to go back to the formulation of those attitudes, ideas, and behaviors that have caused us destruction all our lives and is no longer working. And so when we embark on these spiritual steps, right, what we are learning, what we're doing is changing we are changing our mindset. We are embarking on a spiritual awakening by being challenged with these questions. We are obtaining spiritual maturity. That's going to create a psychic change, like Dr. Carl Jung and Dr. Bob and Bill W. found out when they was trying to deal with the disease of alcoholism. Religion wasn't enough. The medical wasn't enough. He said what we need is divine intervention, divine providence, and I thank God I'm working for divine light. because it's going to take that psychic change in dealing with those old attitudes, ideas, and behaviors that came from a human perspective based on physical conditions, physical circumstances. But once we learn and apply and practice these 12 spiritual principles, we can, we will, we must deal with any and all physical conditions, specifically COVID-19, by using a spiritual angle. Yes, Donald Lawrence says we are not a natural being having a spiritual experience. No, we are spiritual beings living, walking this natural experience. This is just the body. This is just the vessel, the temple. This is the physical condition. But when we embark on these 12 spiritual principles, it will create a psychic change to deal with any and all these physical conditions, particularly COVID-19, by taking the simple suggestions and being attraction to others. That's why I'm sitting before you this morning. That's why we're having these conversations. This is day 76 of 1 when I contracted and had those severe symptoms and getting vaccinated. And so we know that the vaccine only decreases the severity of the symptoms should you contract COVID-19, reduce the possibility of I being hospitalized, and reduce the possibility of you or I dying. That's what the vaccine does. And we still have to be mindful of wearing the mask, washing our hands, social distancing, right? Contact tracing, getting tested, getting those vaccination shots. Yes, I want to be a part of the solution and not the part of the problem. So I had to go back and apply these spiritual principles to remind me, Edwina, you got the information, use it. Now that you use it, go tell somebody. Because that's what they say in alcoholism, drug addiction, and all that. Stay sober and go help somebody else achieve sobriety. Well, I want to stay free from COVID-19, and I want to tell somebody. And I want to show somebody. I want to be an attraction. All right, so he also says that when we are ready to let go, some of the most popularly destructive character defects or shortcomings usually include fear, pride, dishonesty, gluttony, greed, lust, jealousy, grandiosity, right? Willfulness and anger, right? If we are completely honest with ourselves, did you hear that? If we are completely honest with ourselves, that's the how of the program. Honesty, open-mindedness, and willingness. Who are you fooling? You're not fooling anybody by lying to yourself. God knows everything. You damn sure know everything. Huh? So who are we lying to? The sooner I tell myself the truth, the sooner I can get better. The longer I keep lying to myself, the longer it's going to take, and I might not even live. So we need to be completely honest. Get to the exact nature. Huh? Put that pride, ego, stubbornness, self-centeredness aside in order to save your life and save the lives of your loved ones. If you talk to those individuals who've lost loved ones, they will tell you the if I coulda, woulda, shoulda. But it's not even too late for them. They can now lead by example. They can share their experience, their strength, their hope, their wisdom, their lack of wisdom, their bad choices, their bad decisions, their bad actions to save you. Go talk to them. It says, if we are completely honest with ourselves, we have to admit that sometimes we exalt in some of our defects. They feel good, and we really kind of love some of them, huh? What's that but self-centeredness, right? Ego. Come on now. You rather save your behind or save your face, okay? But we have seen time and time again that changing our addictive thinking, our addictive behavior, no matter how difficult it seems, is possible. In recovery, we have people who are just adamant about what we think we know, right? I know. Listen, y'all can't tell me nothing. So people like me and people like you who have that kind of attitude, well, in recovery, we ask you this question. If you had additional information, if you was missing just a corner of the piece of the puzzle, is there a possibility you could be wrong? Yeah, you heard me. I'll repeat. If you had that attitude, you know it all, you know about you this and that, and no, nobody can tell you. Let me ask you a question. If you were missing a small piece of information, if you were missing a small piece of the puzzle, is there a possibility that you could be wrong? Of course, the answer is yes. So the same thing with this COVID-19, right? Ask the questions, get all the information. Don't be so closed-minded. Honesty, open-mindedness, and willingness. Nobody knows everything. Be honest enough to say, help me, I don't know. I need more information. And when you get it, don't be closed-minded. Be open. And then when you get the information, don't sit on it. Pick up the tools and use them. Willingness. All right? So, the overwhelming task is much easier when broken down into tiny incremental steps, okay? So, we say put the anvil down. Here are some of the questions. Now we get into the questions, right? And actions regarding recovery principle number 6. So before I get to the questions, let's review what we've done so far in preparation of answering these questions regarding recovery principle number 6. We're entirely ready to have God remove all these defects of character. If he did it for me and my alcoholism and drug addiction and prostitution life, he can and have. Regarding COVID-19, he did it for me. He can do it for you, whoever you choose to call your higher power or powers greater than you. You do not, I do not have the ability to change ourselves. No, we do not. We have to have the willingness to be changed. Then we have to embark on who's going to do the changing and from what angle. Not a physical one, but a spiritual one. What's going to get into us? What's going to get into our psychic to deal with these physical humanist conditions? Only from a spiritual angle. Only. So, step 6 is basically saying, Step 6 of Alcoholics Anonymous, now COVID-19 Anonymous, program of recovery is all about the removal of what doesn't work in our lives anymore. This COVID-19 has changed everything and is challenging everybody simultaneously. And you must hear this. There by the grace of God, there go I. There by the grace of God, there go you. There by the grace of God, there go your loved ones. Are you kidding me? It's no longer them out there. It's here. It's with you. It's within reach. It's real. Right? He says, so now it's time to allow a higher power to cut out these attitudes, beliefs, and behaviors at the source, at the core. Not those things that are camouflaged and masked with. And we know that they're It's fear. It's the exact nature. So when we get to the exact nature of those attitudes, ideas, and behaviors of why we're so defiant, why we have that feeling of being invincible, why we are adamantly stubborn. And the doctors say it all the time. We just don't get it. We just don't get it. But guess what? It's even some of them who are hypocrites, right? Until such time it hits home. I don't know why about that. Until it happens to you, then you are a non-believer. But guess what? It gets closer and closer and closer and closer and closer. Whoa, I better start listening, okay? And so we going on to say that we talked about it doesn't happen overnight, okay, obviously. And there is nothing like perfection when working the 12 steps. It's about making a commitment to practice doing the next right thing, not just the next thing or your thing. It's doing the next right thing. The next right thing. Who are we to be leaders in our families when we are not doing the next right thing to save our lives and to protect our family? Children watch what you do. They may hear what you say, but they watch and imitate what you do. So you better believe I'm the attraction in my family now. And you can be the same, okay? So we just talked about breaking down step 6. When breaking down step 6, we'll focus on the word ready. And that's what Charles Du Bois, basically said. At any given moment, are you willing to sacrifice who you are for what you can become? The minute you let your guard down, the minute you take that mask off, the minute you don't wash your hands, bam, it got you. So are you ready at any given time to sacrifice who you are for what you could become, and you could be staying alive? Staying alive. All right. So then we talked about, shortcomings, letting go. And so let me present to you what we're going to go over the next few days. And these are the questions section of Jason Waller's breakdown, all right, regarding recovery principle number 6, okay? So he says, step 6, questions and actions. I'm going to read them in Jason Waller's words as he relate them to alcohol and drugs, okay? Then we're going to go back and break them down and apply the focus to COVID-19. But I always like to read the original and substitute what we're presently going through, because we're still using the same spiritual template. Okay, that makes sense? Okay. So he says here, in step 6 of AA, we get to put the anvil down. For many of us recovering addicts, carrying around the 6th step of AA Jason Waller weight of some pretty heavy shortcomings not only slows us down in the progress of our recovery, it also puts us at risk for relapse. We have had these defects we are about to let go of for a long time, so there's probably a measure of fear about changing, because change means the unknown, and the unknown is part of why we drank or used. It's important to keep a sense of hope and trust in the program and the process of recovery that has worked on even the most deeply rooted character defects. So tomorrow, here are some of the questions that Jason Waller outlines to demonstrate how he got in touch with alcohol and drugs and applying this 6th step to him. All right. So if it's God's will, that we are rejoined tomorrow for day 77, I'll ask you the same question. Are you going to be in the prevention, intervention, or restoration mode of COVID-19? Or are you being proactive, inactive, reactive, or responsible regarding COVID-19? There is a solution, and the solutions are in the steps. So be safe, use some common sense, be restored to sanity. And as I said, if it's God's will, He breathes life into us tomorrow, day 77, and wakes us up. Then we will be reunited to continue this recovery conversation to address the COVID-19 effects, impact, right? Outcomes and fatalities, but using a spiritual angle with this physical condition. I want to thank my sponsors again as I close. And this way, if you want to be a sponsor, please contact me. The information is on the screen, and you can get in touch with me as well, and we can have this conversation. Let me get rid of some of this stuff. Here we go. All right. We know that my sponsors are Crafty Crab Seafood, Free to Hope, Women Do Haul Transportation Services, Mr. C's Barbershop, Morgans of Delaware, Lady T at Morgans of Delaware, Jewelry by Catherine Butler, Divine Light. My resources are credited to Dr. Scott T. Allison and Psychology Today, and Jason Waller, breaking down the 12 steps. So go to jasonwaller.com to see the information. All right. And I want to again close with showing you I got vaccinated. All right. So you don't have to be scared. All right. So let's start it from the beginning.
All right, here we go, my daughter. Got it?
I got vaccinated, and guess what? I'm waiting for the second shot. So be safe, make some good decisions, and allow me to close out with my closing page, which is my book that I wrote my first 4 years in recovery from addiction. And it's a journal, and I would love to